Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It's very angering to see someone doing something and calling that something, that action, as good. And then when someone else wanting to do the same thing this guy did, he is the first one to jump up and say, hey, you can't do that, that's immoral. But hey, you did that not a long time ago. So why shouldn't I be able to do the same thing as you did? This is not fair. Well, because I'm stronger. So this kind of thing of debating and let's see who's more moral here and has values is garbage. Because at one point, everything is going to end up with who can grab the other one by the throat and say, get the fuck out. That's how it goes. But under this little smoke screen of we are all good and people and democracy and freedom of speech and so on, the reality, the bottom line is mine is stronger than yours, then I do what the fuck I want and you do what I tell you to do. Unless the other guy has an equally strong ability to punch you in the face. So what do we have here? We have here the United States of America, which tries to do the same thing that the Russians wanted to do in Ukraine. But if that was wrong in Ukraine, why is it right in Gaza? Well, you know, but let's discuss it and see what the details are. I want to expose this to you to see how these guys function. Not long ago, I can tell you exactly when. Before February 24th, 2022. So that would be about in December, was the last time in January. December 2021, January 2022, Russia tried to figure out what to do, unfortunately, with Ukraine. Why? Because Ukraine became a vassal state of the Americans through or Al Capone, let's put it nicer. Yes, Al Capone seems to be nicer than what these guys are doing. I don't think Al Capone killed 55,000 people of its own group on a lie. He might have done other crimes, even though he was never convicted of those crimes. Al Capone was convicted of tax evasion, not by ordering assassinations and all that, or getting his children or his group somewhere to do some hanky-panky like Vietnam, based on a lie, Gulf of Tonkin, and have about 55,000 of young Americans dying over there. No. So that's why Al Capone is a nice representation, or a euphemism for. It's a euphemism actually for United States of America. Why? Because it's better than the original, for the reasons I mentioned. So what's going on here in Ukraine? The Russians said, you toppled the elected government, the democratic government of Viktor Yanukovych, through a bloody coup, which was bloody. People were killed. You instituted your thing. You took over. You enter it. You're too close. We need to make sure that Ukraine is demilitarized, doesn't pose a threat to us, as you would not like us to be in Cuba and pose a threat to you. This guy said, well, we don't want to talk to you. What you're trying to do, let the Ukrainian people decide. Like you let them decide in 2014 on the Maidan. That's how you want to let them decide? Anyway, what's going on here? This is what's going on. Russia Today. Today on the 21st of October 2023. US and Israel, these two countries, mulling interim government in Gaza, according to Bloomberg. So these two countries decide what to do with a group of people living under a cage-restricted environment, since you dictate how much water a person gets, and you can turn it off, or how much food that person gets, and you can turn it off, and you decide if that person can leave the premises. That means you're in control of that person, and that person is incarcerated. If you decide all these things, you are in charge. So obviously, the United States and Israel are in charge of Gaza. All right? The two-state solution that was supposed to be at the creation of the state of Israel somehow disappeared from these people's minds. Why? Well, you know why. So now, United States and Israel, they want to create in Gaza something that Russia wanted to create in Ukraine, where everybody comes along and make sure that nothing is going on over there. Those guys are just living their lives. They're not attack anybody. They're not a danger to anybody, and they are under control of other institutions because they can somehow rule themselves. Why? Because the system is already broken from the very beginning, 1948. There was a broken system since then. Why? Well, look what you gave to these guys and look what you gave to the other guys. Yes, you gave them, right? It was a decision, the only decision actually, as far as I remember, in the world history, where a country is just created by some people. We're going to put this country, we're going to form it here. Tell me about another one. I don't remember another one being invented, or not invented, but put together by another body that decided this country is going to be created right here because we say so. I mean, there were protectorates, and here and there, but on the other hand, like this, I don't remember. Anyway, and if there are examples, how many are there? Anyway, here it is. Let's see what these guys are saying. The idea would require support from regional Arab countries, so they have to go in and somehow become the wardens of the Palestinian people. So they want to actually pick the hot potato with the Arab countries' hands. So they would be the buffers between the Israelis and the Palestinians, which could prove difficult to secure, the report says. The US and Israel are mulling the creation of an interim administration in Gaza. They would be backed by the United Nations and Arab governments. Bloomberg reported on Saturday, citing sources. I don't think that will ever happen because they would be out of US's or Israel's hands. And even if that would happen, what these guys want on the paper, which is United Nations will do what Russia wanted to do in Ukraine. Even if that would occur on the paper, United Nations doesn't have a military. Remember, who has a military? Israel has a military. United States have a military. Okay, so when these guys want the Arab countries to make sure that they basically keep those guys over there, don't let them attack us, and then United Nations somehow will figure out what's going on with United Nations. I guarantee you that if overnight, let's say some guys in Gaza will do something bad to Israel, Israel will not say, let United Nations deal with that. We condemn the attacks. No, they will go in and bombard like the United Nations and the Arab countries that supposedly are supposed to keep the Palestinians quiet don't even exist. They will take, look at history, my friends. Look how many, there are UN resolutions voted for, condemning certain moves and telling the Israelis, for instance, to go back and don't build more settlements. What does Israel do? Doesn't give a fuck. Why? Simply doesn't give a damn. Nobody places sanctions on Israel for not following, not implementing United Nations voted resolutions. So it's not listening to anybody. Now, what makes me think, or what makes you think that he's going to listen to, I will abide by it. Let them be organized, an interim government over there, and we're going to be United Nations. What makes you think? It's someone who broke promises or doesn't even follow the law, and you can't enforce the law. How can you enforce the law? United States will block everybody, and not only United States of America, but Israel. What are they going to do? Who's going to do what? I have never heard of anybody. Now, I'm not talking about the Arab countries, with the oil, but the free world saying, you know what, these guys don't implement the United Nations resolutions. We should impose about 15 rounds of sanctions. Why is not happening? Well, other people who other countries impose sanctions on look at that and say, wait a minute. There's a double standard here. Why is it double standard? And then when you point that why is it a double standard, you're called that you're anti this or you're anti that. They're just to shut the hell up. It's like the emperor has no clothes. That's what it is. And then they immediately point out and make all kind of he lost his job if he said that. He lost his job. So they threaten you to get you scared, to scare you. You're going to lose your job. Yeah, if you say something about that, that calls you out automatically and anti that. That means you're a bad person. And who decides that? Who appointed you as a judge? Who? The society. But the society, I'm part of society. Can I be a judge too? No. What, the number, the majority? The majority is not necessarily right. Truth is not based on majority who vote for the truth. It's not based on that. And the great example is Galileo Galilei. He was right, everybody else was wrong, but he was found guilty. Okay, so the same, just use that example for instance. Let's see what these guys are saying here. According to people familiar with US government discussions, the plans are still at an early age and depend on future developments, including on whether Israel's ground operation against Hamas is the success. What success means, I would like to know. You see, what does it mean success? Destroying Hamas? What about the civilians? It would be great if these guys will fight, one another, but they fight the Palestinians as well, and they destroy them. Just watch videos and look at the picture that we're still allowed to look at, to watch videos. We're still allowed. The time will come when these guys will say, you can't handle the truth. We're gonna tell you, euphemistically. The idea, which would effectively see the Palestinian armed group removed from power, would also require the participation of regional Arab states, which would be tricky to secure, the report says. Commenting on the potential of getting Arab nations on board, William Usher, a former senior Middle East analyst at the CIA, told Bloomberg that it, and I'm quoting, would require a major shift in how Arab states accept risk and work with one another. So it now is the Arab states' mistake, and that's their problem. They're at fault. They are the problem. I mean, you ignore the elephant in the room and someone else's. You're not going to solve the problem like this. As well as leap of trust by Israel at a time when this commodity is in short supply. It was always in short supply because the Arabs consider the creation of the state of Israel as an illegal entity and formation by outside entities, not by them over there, by someone from a different city came and imposed on this neighborhood that this thing will be created here on what these guys perceive that that's their land. And these guys say, no, it's my land, no, it's my land. And someone from far away came and said, no, this guy's land because we say so. And if you say something, we're going to prrrp. And then they said something and then prrrp. All right, so anyway, my friends. On Friday, Israeli defense minister outlined 3 phases of war with Hamas. The first would involve aerial bombardment of what? Hamas? You know where they're at, all of them? Oh, you're going to indiscriminately destroy everything over there and say, well, we destroyed another Hamas leader, plus about, 3,000 Palestinians, but that's collateral damage. That's why they will say it, if they would bother even to say it. And the ground operations, followed by lower intensity fighting. Lower intensity, I like that. It's not going to be 5 million bullets, it's going to be 300,000 bullets. It's just low intensity. If you put it proportionate to what is low intensity? It's like someone rapes someone else and it just pumps, 20 times. Low intensity rape. Still a rape? What are you talking about? Low intensity rape. Thank you very much. Low intensity fighting to eliminate pockets, because there are pockets of resistance over there. Okay, and you're gonna find, your bullets when they're gonna shoot towards a civilian, you're just gonna go, that's a civilian, go in space. Yeah, all right. Man, this is just movies. When you see in the movies, all kind of things like, oh, he's so good, he avoids that, he just jumps, he saves lives and all that. Civilians. No, that's in the movies. In reality, it's differently. You have your pants filled with poop, okay? And you go over there, you're shot at, and you're going to tell me, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to endanger my life for an unknown person, civilian over there, because I have the what? The status, the war crimes, the whatever. Do you think that's how it occurs? I don't think that whatsoever. When you're over there, the first thing is this, my life. And then everybody else's. Right? And then, oh, my country, and I'm about my life. Why? Because without me, the country goes down. Because the country is formed by people. A country doesn't exist if it's empty. Therefore, my life is more important than the country's. Because without me, it doesn't exist. Okay, I can exist without the country. The country cannot exist without me. Humans, I'm talking about. Not me, Emil Kosman. Okay, all right. And then the final stage would require removal of Israel's responsibility for life in the Gaza Strip and the establishment of a new security reality. That's beautiful. How many centuries would that last? The last process I would like to know. The one when Israel will remove its responsibility of life in Gaza Strip. I don't know, 20 centuries? 50,000 million centuries? 3,000 quadruple million freaking... Man, this is so idiotic. This is a process. It's still in the... Remember, since I was born, and I had ears to hear, I heard about the Israeli-Palestine peace process. And that was a long time ago. And they're still not there. There still is the process. Where's the process? There's no process. There's no process. So the same, the removal, will require removal of Israel's responsibility. Really? They will never do it, but they will call it a process. And the process, as I said, will be a quadrillion of processes and time. Never will happen. We're still in the last phase. And the people say, yeah, man, we succeeded in the first phase, the second phase, now we're going to go in the third one. We're in the third phase. We're advancing. We're progressing. People, read history. Read history, understand human nature and human psychology. When you understand these two things, you can evaluate and you can use a prognosis for what most likely will happen next. I tell you how these things could be solved. You build, I don't know, some 30 meter, tall walls around Gaza, which I think they are already, and you have to make sure that those guys in Gaza are under control like a communist system. Because once those guys gonna shoot a rocket into Israel will intervene over there. Or, if they shoot something, there should be another body that would intervene and solve the problem, not the Israelis. Israel should be removed from any contact with Gaza, with Palestinians over there. Nothing, no involvement whatsoever. Should be an international, if you want, military force that's going to take care of things over there. I'm not saying killing them. If something happens, it's not going to be Israel going and blowing up the whole thing. And don't do that. I mean, that's the only way I see it. Because why? The whole thing is built wrong. It started wrong, like the Peace of Versailles. I'm talking about Germany. The whole peace, armistice, or whatever it was wrong. The conditions were wrong. That's why you had the Second World War, partly, or mostly. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The Americans and the Israelis want to do the same thing in Gaza, what the Russians asked the Americans and the world community to give guarantees to demilitarize Ukraine, to bring guys over there they're going to supervise and make sure these guys are not going to be on the left or on the right. And the problem is, I agree that Ukraine should be capable of, and he is able, to fulfill its own destiny and be in charge of its own destiny. But the problem is when you have weasels, and we always going to have weasels. Weasels are among us. We are sometimes weasels. So, we should not be so harsh when we see weasels left and right. I mean, that's a reality. It would be nice that we would not weasels whatsoever. But sometimes we are. Why? Because we're not omnipowerful, all-powerful. And then you become a weasel. But some people, even if you're powerful, that's their nature, I would guess, because you did it so repeatedly that became your second nature, let's put it this way. So in Ukraine, the same. There will be some weasels that have interest, and you're going to have the outside interest. And if you don't have as many people, as many countries involved, so you can't buy them all, basically. And you have to find unanimity in decisions. Not a majority, because in majority you can pay the majority and you can remove Imran Khan from power through a no confidence vote, as an example. Okay, not that. No, you have to have unanimity, like in the European Union, which these guys try to change it because Hungary has more power and doesn't agree with these guys' policy. See, that's why we do it in Ukraine. And what? Look how many people died. Why? Because other interests. We have to eliminate that. And that was preventable. All that was preventable. Ukraine was preventable. This thing in Gaza could have been preventable or prevented. But anyway, my friends, and unfortunately there's some politicians who use this kind of tragedies for their own campaigns, and you create a problem and then you show up, supposedly you're gonna provide the antidote, how are you going to solve it? It's too obvious. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.